It was past midnight when I woke up, the room still and cold. I reached out instinctively. The sheets beside me were empty. At first, I thought Gavin had gone to the bathroom or maybe to grab water from the kitchen. But then I heard it. A voice. His voice. Low, calm, and far too quiet. I sat up, holding my breath. "Just 2 more weeks," he said. "She has no idea." My stomach tightened. I slid out of bed slowly, bare feet sinking into the carpet. The hallway light was off, but moonlight spilled into the blinds, casting soft lines across the floor. I moved toward the doorway, careful not to make a sound. His tone was soothing, like he was reassuring someone. "No, it's all set. Trust me. Trust me." I froze in place, blood rushing in my ears. He wasn't on a work call. He never whispered on those. And he never said things like "she has no idea." I backed away quietly and returned to bed just before I heard his footsteps. When he slipped in beside me, I pretended to be asleep, but I wasn't, not even close. I was wide awake and suddenly aware that something was very, very wrong. The next morning, I got up before Gavin did. He was still snoring lightly, his arms stretched across the bed like nothing had happened. I padded barefoot into the kitchen, made myself some coffee, and sat at the table with my laptop. I rarely checked our accounts. Gavin handled most of the finances. But today, something pulled me to log in. Within seconds, I knew I had been right to worry. $800, $1, $150, $2, $400, all quietly withdrawn over the last 2 months. Different amounts, but the same pattern. Frequent, just low enough to stay unnoticed. But not anymore. None of it made sense. We had no major expenses coming up, no discussions about investments, no joint plans. Behind me, I heard footsteps. I quickly shut the laptop. "Morning," Gavin mumbled, scratching his head as he poured himself some coffee. "You're up early." "I was checking something," I said, keeping my tone light. "Our bank account." He paused just for a second, barely enough to notice, then smiled. "Oh, that? Just a few short-term investments. Quick flips. Nothing big." I nodded slowly, pretending to believe him, but inside, I felt something settle. A quiet, cold certainty. He was hiding something, and I wasn't going to ignore it. Later that evening, Gavin was unusually relaxed. He made dinner, lit candles, even poured wine, like nothing was out of ordinary. Halfway through the meal, he set down his fork and looked at me with a casual smile. "You know," he began, "I've been thinking we should probably organize all our financial stuff, just in case of emergencies." I froze just for a beat. "Our passwords, accounts, insurance, all in one place," he added, swirling his wine. "You know, to be safe." I tilted my head. "That's new. You've never really cared about that before." He laughed. "Yeah, well, things change. It's just smart planning." Smart planning. Right. He wanted access to everything. That much was clear. I forced a smile. "Sure, I can put together a list." His eyes flickered with something satisfaction. "Maybe." He nodded. "Great. Just whenever you get the chance." I nodded back, hiding the churn in my stomach. Outwardly, I played along. But inside, my instinct screamed, this isn't about safety. It's about control. And I needed to be one step ahead. Gavin never left his phone unattended. Never. But that night, after we finished a movie, he got up to take a shower and forgot it on the coffee table. Face down. I sat still, pretending not to care, heart quietly hammering. Then it buzzed. I glanced over. The screen lit up for a few seconds, just long enough to read the preview. Make sure she signs before Friday. Alina. My breath caught in my throat. Alina, a name I didn't recognize. But the message said everything. This wasn't just paranoia. This was a plan. The bank withdrawals. The sudden interest in emergency finances. The whisper I heard that night. I stared at the glowing screen, pulse pounding in my ears. Almost instinctively, I reached out to read more, but I stopped myself. I didn't need more. I had seen enough. I placed the phone back as it was. A moment later, I heard the shower turn off. I sat still, calm on the outside. But inside, the switch had flipped. I wasn't going to be tricked. Not by him. Not by anyone. The next morning, Gavin walked into the kitchen with a smile and a stack of papers in his hand. "Hey, babe," he said casually, setting them on the table. "I printed out a draft of that financial list we talked about. Just needs your signature." I dried my hands on a towel and glanced at the top page. Joint Asset Protection and Consolidation Agreement. It sounded harmless, responsible, even, but I'd learned enough to read between the lines. As he poured coffee, I flipped through the pages slowly, carefully. On page 4, my heart skipped. Clause 8B. Transfer of primary residence title and associated assets to party A, Gavin Lane. He didn't mention that part. Looks official, I said calmly, eyes still on the text. Yeah, just standard stuff. Makes things easier, you know? For both of us. I nodded, folding the papers and placing them back on the table. I'll take a closer look tonight, I said with a smile. Sure, he replied, trying not to look rushed. But I saw it, the tension in his jaw, the way his fingers tapped the counter. He needed me to sign, and now I knew why. I didn't sleep that night. While Gavin snored softly beside me, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, replaying every lie, every half smile, every smooth deflection. By morning, I had made my decision. I took the day off work, told Gavin I had a migraine, and then I went straight to my lawyer. Her name was Elise Cho, sharp, discreet, and exactly who I needed. We spent hours going over everything. My accounts, the condo, even my retirement savings. Elise worked quickly. By noon, every asset I had was secured in a private trust under my name alone. Untouchable, untraceable, unless I allowed it. When I left her office, I felt something I hadn't felt in days. Steady. Gavin thought I was still playing his game, still sleeping beside him in the dark, unaware. But he was wrong. He made one mistake. He thought I would break. Instead, I moved first. The next morning, Gavin was waiting at the table, coffee in hand, papers neatly stacked in front of him. He looked prepared. I've been thinking, he began, his tone rehearsed, measured. Maybe it's time we talk about separating. I didn't blink. Oh, he nodded slowly, like it hurt him. It's not working, Harper. We've grown apart. I think this is best, for both of us. His voice was smooth, too smooth, like a speech he had practiced in the mirror. I let a few seconds pass. Then I set down my mug. Well, I said evenly, I moved everything into a trust yesterday. Silence. A flicker in his eyes. His jaw tightened just slightly. What do you mean? He asked too quickly. I smiled, calm and quiet. Exactly what it sounds like. He stared at me, expression flat. But the mask was cracking. The man who thought he controlled everything was suddenly unsure. He swallowed hard, voice low. You'll regret that. I leaned back in my chair. No, Gavin. You will. It started with glances. Lingering stares at the office. Conversations that stopped when I walked by. A strange chill in the air I couldn't ignore. By Thursday, my assistant pulled me aside. Harper, I thought you should know, she said gently. There's talk going around. About you. About the money. My stomach sank. What kind of talk? She hesitated. That you took money from your joint accounts. That you're hiding something. There it was. Gavin's revenge. I didn't respond. I just turned, walked back to my office, and shut the door. Then I picked up the phone and called Elise. He's starting a smear campaign. I said flatly. He's trying to ruin my name. Then we ruin his first, she replied without hesitation. Come in tomorrow. Bring everything. The fear was gone now. All that remained was focus. He wanted a war. I was done playing defense. Now it was my turn to strike back. The courtroom was cold. Still, Gavin sat across from me in a sharp suit, jaw tight, eyes full of quiet smugness. His lawyer stood first. Your Honor, we request a full forensic audit of Mrs. Lane's finances. We believe she deliberately concealed assets from our client during their marriage. I didn't flinch. My lawyer, Elise, rose calmly. Your Honor, all of Ms. Lane's financial moves were made before Mr. Lane filed for separation. And we have evidence. She held up a thick binder. That documents submitted by Mr. Lane's team were doctored. The judge leaned forward, eyebrows raised. Elise continued. A forensic analyst confirmed the timestamps don't align. The accounts these transfers supposedly came from, they didn't even exist at that time. A heavy silence fell across the room. Gavin's lawyer paled. Gavin looked stunned. The judge finally spoke. Request denied. No audit. And Mr. Lane, he said firmly, you will cover all legal fees associated with this motion. The gavel struck once. And just like that, Gavin lost. Again. 2 weeks later, I signed the final documents. No courtroom. No drama. Just silence. The kind that used to scare me, but now felt like peace. Gavin got nothing. No condo, no money, not even a public apology could save what was left of his name. He tried to break me, tried to erase me. Instead, he lost everything. That night, I sat alone on my balcony, city lights flickering in the distance, a glass of wine in my hand. No more watching my back. No more lies in the dark. Just stillness, strength. I opened my laptop and clicked on a blank page. This time, the story was mine. Not about betrayal, not about revenge, but about beginning again without fear, without him. I took a slow breath and whispered to myself, have you ever trusted someone who tried to take everything from you? Have you ever had to stay silent just long enough to take back your power? Share your experience in the comments, even just a few words. And if Harper's story reminded you of your own strength, leave a red heart below. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications for more stories about quiet courage, justice, and starting over. Because sometimes the strongest move is the one no one sees coming.